Welcome to Get to the Hook. I am your co-host, Charles Latibeaudiere.
And I'm your co-host, Eric Colley.
So we have some, as they say, hot off the presses headlines for you here, some about huge artists. I mean, we're covering Drake, we're covering Kendrick,
Ariana
we're covering
Grande.
Kendrick again, Ariana Grande. Some really big news happening with all of these artists and a few others. But where do we even begin here, Eric? What's the... I mean, Kendrick dropped an album, so I think we should start there, right?
Let's start with Kendrick, and that can get us into Drake because there's a connection there. So yeah, the big thing on this past Friday, Kendrick dropped his album GNX, which is a reference to the Grand National. It's a Buick. And I
know
looked
the
this
Grand
up.
National, yeah.
The specific, it's a 1987 Buick GNX is the car that he is in all the videos for and the cover and everything. Only 547 of those cars were made.
Really?
And I guess his dad had a Buick. It wasn't that exact one, but when he was born, apparently his dad brought him home in like a Buick Regal. So Kendrick's always wanted this car, got himself one. His is in pristine condition. I'm not a car guy, but I was looking up some car things are saying that if you have one of those 547, it would cost you at least $100,000. And he probably paid a lot more than that.
Right. Especially if his is in pristine condition.
Yeah.
That's really sad when Kendrick is talking about a classic car that he just had to have. And I actually remember that car like driving around town in 87 in a Grand National. And I will say it was rare. I didn't realize they were that
Well, there's
rare.
the Grand National and there's the G and X is like a more limited.
The GNX is the more
rarefied one. And that's the one he wanted. That's the one he got because it's Kendrick Lamar. And
so that's the title, if you're wondering what the title of the album is about. But once you get into the album,
there's so much going on. And you know, I realized
a few disses, or at least some people have perceived them as disses.
Yeah, I realize there's a lot of overlap between Kendrick fans and Taylor Swift fans. In that
do tell.
They are obsessed with the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Whenever Taylor releases an album, people go through with a fine-tooth comb, like, oh, she referenced this, she referenced the color of this sweater, this is this, that's that, this is this person. We do the same thing with Kendrick.
I guess
talking
you're
about
right.
what's the reference to that? Is this a reference to this? I got in such a weird, deep rabbit hole on every song on the album. All the lyrics, if you look it up, people are like, oh, well, this is probably a reference to this thing, which is that, which is this. I was like, I can't keep up with all this.
I will say, when I listened to the album for the first time this weekend, I was in the car, and I'm listening to it, and someone was in the car with me, and they just kept talking, and I was like, I just kept wanting to go like,
shut up!
I wanted to say, shut up! But I couldn't do that because it was inappropriate at the time.
Did you not know there's a new Kendrick album?
But I was like, they knew we were listening to the album, like, but they just kept talking. I'm like, I can't hear all the things he's saying.
It's hard.
The beats were great.
Yeah. Oh, look at my notes here. I also forgot. You know who co-produced the album?
Who?
Jack Antonoff, who produces Taylor Swift.
Well, there you go. There you go.
And Kendrick's first #1 song was his feature on Taylor's Bad Blood.
That's right.
A lot of overlap there.
Interesting. Jack Antonoff co-produced the whole album?
I think
wow.
So. There's a lot of producers on this record, so I don't know if he's involved in every single song, but definitely Jack Antonoff is part of it.
Yeah.
The biggest song from the album, this chart-wise next week, already predicted to be #1 next week, is Squabble Up, which samples Debbie Deb's 80s freestyle classic.
And let me tell you, folks are loving folks, I'll just say this, folks in certain areas of LA are loving this.
Oh, yeah.
Because that freestyle, you put that freestyle in there anywhere and they're in. That's it.
Right. But one of the songs that's getting talked about a lot is Whacked Out Murals.
It's the opening track.
On it, and Kendrick just comes in hot and doesn't let up for the whole album, basically. But there's specifically a reference to Lil Wayne, and it's not a diss, it's not a shot, it's a compliment to Wayne, I think.
Maybe.
So this is the exact
I guess
line.
that's up to Wayne, isn't it?
Well, we know how Wayne takes it. So this is a little bit of Whacked Out Mural. This is the exact line where he references Lil Wayne.
Used to bump the Carter 3, I held my rolly chain proud. Irony, I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down. Whatever though, call me crazy, everybody questionable.
So
yeah, it doesn't, you're right, no, it didn't hit me as a diss when I heard it. But I also understood why Wayne might take it that way, because for those who don't know, obviously Kendrick is going to be doing the Super Bowl halftime show. The Super Bowl is in New Orleans. Everyone thought that the NFL and Rock Nation should have had Lil Wayne doing the halftime show.
Who is like the king of New Orleans.
Just made sense.
Yeah.
And Lil Wayne has said he was upset. He was let down. And
he
really,
was hurt. He goes, I'm hurt by this.
Yeah. So that's why I felt like he'd been clear that it really did hurt him. And so even if Kendrick didn't mean it as a diss.
Right. Well, what it seemed like he was saying to me is, like how, I used to bump the Carter 3, which is Lil Wayne's classic album, had Lollipop on it and a lot of classic songs. Then, that's expressing his admiration and his love for Lil Wayne. And so it's like, I think my hard work let him down. Basically, I worked hard to get the halftime show. Everybody who plays the halftime show has worked hard to get to that point in your career that you would be asked. But now, like, by working hard by somebody who inspired me, I've disappointed that person by taking something they thought was theirs.
It's more like him just acknowledging the facts of what had happened.
Yeah.
But
so Lil Wayne responded on X. Do I read this verbatim?
Well,
let me get my white guy voice on here.
Would you like me to read it?
No, you know what? I'm going to do it. He just says, man, WTF I do. He goes, I just be chilling and they still come from my head. Let's not take kindness for weakness. Let this giant sleep. I beg you all. No one really wants destruction, not even me, but I shall destroy if disturbed. On me, love. Basically, leave me out of this.
Wow.
You drag me into it, you will regret it. Because he kind of stayed out of the Drake beef as much as he could.
He did, but I mean, Wayne, I get it. You're saying, like, don't drag me into it, but you vocalized that you were upset about this. So if you spoke about it openly, of course others are going to speak about it openly. So I don't feel like Kendrick was, like, dragging him into it. He was just acknowledging something that everybody had been talking about, including Wayne himself.
Which, that's what Kendrick does, is talk about his life and his perspective on things, and certainly that's been something this year. And, and I think people thought this whole album was going to be just one big, long Drake drag. It's not. There's some references to it, because obviously Kendrick, that's been a big part of his life this year.
Right.
But, and to his credit, Not Like Us is not on this album. And he could have just tacked it on, just
put it in
add
there.
the streams on, get the certifications, but he didn't, because that's not the album he's making.
Mm-hmm.
But another way, in the same Whacked Out Mural song, Snoop Dogg got referenced because of the Drake beef. So see, this is all so complicated to explain. I'll try and be quick. Remember Drake released the song during the beef called Tailor Made Freestyle?
Yes.
And he had AI versions of Snoop and Tupac on it until Tupac's estate said nope and made Drake pull it off the internet. So when he did that, Snoop posted the Tailor Made Freestyle and was just like, what? Didn't really say anything good or bad.
Right.
Well, Kendrick, I guess, was upset that Snoop would post Drake at all.
Because this was in the heat of the battle between the beef between Kendrick and Drake.
And
so
Snoop and Kendrick
everybody was kind of choosing sides. Anything you did was choosing a side.
Right. And, Snoop's a West Coast guy. Kendrick's a West Coast guy. They're from Southern California. You got to have a united front there.
Compton and Long Beach together. You got trouble.
Exactly. So in the lyric in Whacked Up Murals, Kendrick says, Snoop posted Tailor Made. I prayed it was the edibles. I couldn't believe it. It was only right for me to let it go. Snoop says, he posted on X in reference to that, he says, K-Dot's new album's fire, just like fire emojis. And he goes, it was the edibles, with a little face palm and a laugh emoji. So nobody could be mad at Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, you can't be. That was light. That was just a light little jab there. Right. So the album will be number one, right?
Yes. And the early prediction I just saw, and it's only a couple days in, we'll have to see how it holds up during the week, but Squabble Up will probably be number one. He will probably have the entire top 5. These are impressive numbers.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, this is a new level. Because, Kendrick has been Kendrick for over a decade now, and he's hit like a new level.
But it hit yes.
Also like Taylor Swift.
Yes.
They're already huge, and they keep getting bigger. How is that possible?
Right. And I just think brilliant of him to drop the album before the end of the year, so you're still coming off the heat of Not Like Us and leading into the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'm surprised he dropped this now.
By the way,
instead of closer to the Super Bowl.
SZA definitely comes out with him during the Super Bowl.
Oh, 100%. Right? SZA's on 2 songs on the album, and that's actually one little squabble of mine. Speaking of Squabble Up, so no matter who sings on a song or whatever, it has to be officially accredited a certain way when it charts. So SZA, I think, gets a feature credit on the song Luther, which is going to debut.
Which is a great song.
Probably number 2 or 3 or 4 somewhere. It's going to be a top 5 hit.
Right.
It samples a vocal sample from Luther Vandross. That's why it's called Luther. And it's very prominent in the song. It's not just like a sample. It's like he sings part of the chorus. Luther is not credited as an artist, and I really wish he would have been. Because it would have been really cool to see Luther Vandross get a new top 5 hit in 2024.
Right.
Same thing, The Heart Part 6 samples SWV's Use Your Heart. And they are fully just singing the chorus because it's the chorus of their song.
Yeah.
They are not credited.
But not a feature.
And again,
I mean, they'll get a song if
well, I don't know if they wrote it.
I don't know if they wrote that song, but Luther probably. Well, maybe I don't know.
I don't know if Luther wrote it. I don't know. Well, you have to clear the recordings. So whoever owns the rights to the masters will get paid there. I hope they do. Even that, like The Heart Part 6, when Drake dropped his diss track, he called it The Heart Part 6 because Kendrick has this series of The Heart songs.
Yeah.
He had done Part 5 at that point. This is Kendrick clearly saying, you aren't jacking my title, I'm taking it back.
You don't get to take it.
And I guess I didn't get into this one too deep. I saw people mentioning that I guess there was some beef with Kendrick and Pharrell over Drake. I don't know if Pharrell was more on the Drake team or what. But then they're like, oh, it's brilliant because Pharrell produced the SWV song that he sampled. I'm like, this is like so many levels of 4D chess. I can't keep up with all of this. It's too much. It's too much. The Drake beef is not dead, though.
No, the Drake beef is far from dead because Drake has made the move. Maybe you could say this is going nuclear mode here because he did the one thing that everyone has said since Not Like Us came out that Drake should not do. Just walk away, take the L, and move on. And I'm sure he will move on. But before he does, he went ahead and filed some legal documents. It's technically not a lawsuit. We literally just broke the story within the last hour. So I got to make sure I get the details right. But it's not a lawsuit. He has filed legal documents in New York and also in Texas, where the reason it's filed in Texas, iHeartRadio is based there.
Oh, okay.
And he is making a bunch of allegations against Universal Music Group, which distributes his music, but also distributes Kendrick's music. And he has an issue with how Not Like Us became so popular. And he is accusing Universal Music of spending thousands of dollars on bots just to get the streams up on Spotify.
They do. It's like farming out streams to try and pump numbers up. And
right.
Everybody does that.
And everybody
does
it. And by the way, I would think Drake knows that. But anyway, that's part of it. And the other allegation is that they, as he puts it, there was a pay-for-play scheme, uses that phrase, also uses the word payola, and accuses Universal Music Group of paying multiple platforms and iHeartRadio stations to specifically play Not Like Us over and over and over and over again. And he says he wants all the information, all the data about what they paid and who they paid, because he is preparing to file a racketeering lawsuit against his own record label.
Oh, that's not going to go well.
So he is so ready to go to war over this that he is going to sue his own distributor for racketeering, and he basically says that he doesn't ever go after Kendrick in the documents, which is interesting. It's all about Universal.
Is there defamation in this? He's not suing over.
So he's not mentioning defamation yet, but he says in these documents, I already have enough grounds to file a defamation suit. So it sounds like he is going to, and while he doesn't spell it out, I could only imagine that's the fact that the lyrics of the song call him a certified pedophile.
Right. And not even in any sort of double entendre. That's the literal lyric.
No.
But then Drake also said a lot of things about Kendrick in all of his songs and called him, that he was beating his wife and all that kind of stuff. And also the pay-for-play thing. So that was the big payola scandal back in the 50s into the 70s, that radio stations would slip money or cars or things to DJs to get them to play a song.
It technically is a violation, and the FCC
but you
is
can
supposed
do
to
it up front. The iHeartRadio deals, it's up front. They have to announce it like, it's a sponsored whatever, and they play it once an hour. Everybody does that. Big artists always get radio deals, and they don't even really need them, because if Drake's implication is that Not Like Us was only a hit because of all this,
that is implying that it reached the level it did. I don't think he's flat out saying it wouldn't have been a hit. He's just saying it became everywhere. You could not go anywhere without hearing that song. And by the way, it's still kind of like that.
Yeah, it's still in the top 20.
Is it still in the top 20?
Yes, that song is not gone away. It is still in the top 20.
Okay,
because of streams, and it's not bots at this point.
Right. So Drake has pulled the move that we always said he could do. But he wouldn't, because that's just going to look weak, and
it's going to be like more of an L for him. Like, you already lost that battle.
It is interesting though that he says that he's going to go after Universal Music Group for racketeering, for doing things that, look, I'll just be honest, and I don't know this in fact at all, but if someone told me that Universal was doing the things that he is accusing them of doing for Not Like Us, if someone told me that they did that for a bunch of Drake songs, I would have been like, yeah, no duh.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't know that they did, but I wouldn't be shocked.
But fighting your record label is never a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of artists that when you start, biting the hand that feeds, they can end you, which is to Drake's point there. If they want you to be popular, they can make it happen. If they want you to not be popular, they can make that happen too.
But does Drake feel like he is above that now, that he is the one of a handful of people powerful enough to take on Universal Music Group, which is the distributor for scores of huge artists?
He really needs to come with a hot record next year. His last couple albums, I've said before, they were
putting more
very
pressure
successful
on himself to make a great record, because
if he phones something in, it's not going to be a good look. But maybe all the lawsuit or this, and it's not a lawsuit, this motion he filed, maybe it's partly to make Kendrick just look bad, because that was the whole thing of the battle. Not even the pedophile stuff. It just made Drake look weak in the battle compared to Kendrick. If he comes back and says, you resorted to all these tactics just to try and get up on me, it makes Kendrick look weak.
Right.
Because I will say, for all of Drake's insane success, and he has more top 10 hits than anybody and all that, as a chart watcher, you see people pull tactics like they'll do discounts during the week, or a remix, or things they'll do tricks to try and get to number one. Drake never really does that. He puts his stuff out and he moves on. And if people like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. And he moves on to the next thing. He's never played the game to try and make sure I have to do this and do that to get number one. That's not really something he's ever done.
I just think the other thing that is interesting about this is he's kind of put Universal and Kendrick, even though he doesn't call out Kendrick directly in the documents, kind of put them on notice about saying certified pedophile on as huge a stage as the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because
there's no way he does that.
And I don't think, I can't see how he does it.
He has to do that song. It was such a moment, but you can't do
the NFL,
the whole thing.
Certainly. The NFL doesn't want to suddenly find itself in the middle of that whole battle. And whoever's Fox is broadcasting the Super Bowl, I'm sure they don't want to end up in the middle of that, because if he performs it during the Super Bowl, they're all potentially liable in a defamation suit.
Not even possibly any action from Drake. You just don't want to have somebody screaming certified pedophile during the halftime show of the Super Bowl. It's just, you just shouldn't do that. It's not the stage for
Now,
it.
he could do the A minor line, right?
A minor.
Because that's double entendre, and you can get away with that, right?
You got, if you know, you know.
Right.
Kids won't get that.
So we'll see where this ends up going, but Drake has now made it official that he is not going to walk away from this.
And interesting, he files this a few days after GNX comes out.
Not by accident, I don't think.
It is not by accident.
Yeah.
Let's move on to something completely different. Wicked.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk musicals.
Musicals. Wicked opened finally after a year of hype, it felt like, or more. It made $114 million at the box office, which is really good.
It's really good, although I heard some people throwing around a number $200 million. So
I think that was always unrealistic. Yeah. But the industry expectation going into the weekend was 130 to 150, and it finished with 114. So it's below what they thought they were going to get. And they've spent so much money, not just making the movie, but marketing this thing.
And they still have and they got part 2 to go still. But
yeah, but I don't think, 114 million is still a great number. And I think specifically, if this came out in July and did 114, that might be a bad sign, because it's probably going to drop off the next week.
Right.
But holiday movies,
this is going to actually,
they're designed to
probably
for
build over Thanksgiving week.
Right, and through Christmas. It's going to have competition from Moana 2, but I think this movie's got a lot of legs, long way to go.
So we're here to talk about the music. Not so much the box office, which was impressive.
I wanted to bring that up. So if I've never seen Wicked. I haven't seen the movie yet. I have never seen.
Never saw the play?
The show. No, did you?
I went. It's debatable how much of it I saw. Listen, I don't. I just want to say I don't get a lot of sleep. All right, and so
you fell asleep.
Put me in a theater, put me in a dark room in a somewhat comfortable seat. I don't care what's going on stage. I'm probably going to take a little nap. And yes, I did.
Well, here's a little bit of Cynthia Erivo and the cast singing "Defying Gravity."
I think I was awake for this song. I think I was.
It's time to try defying gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity.
Charles, wake up.
Well, what?
You fell asleep, not even during the movie, the play. How do you fall asleep during a play?
What do you mean? How do you fall asleep during a play?
There's actual people and things happening.
I can tell you more plays I've fallen asleep through than ones that I was awake through.
Why do you keep going?
As someone drags me.
Oh, all right.
It's not to say I didn't enjoy it. What I saw of it was great.
Are you going to see the movie? If someone drags you to it?
It's one of those things like no, I don't have a burning desire to go see it, and especially having seen the play. Actually, by the way, I think I saw it twice.
The best nights
I fell asleep. I fell asleep in different parts of it, so I have it all pieced together now.
Okay,
but it feels like something I'm just going to watch at home.
Yeah,
that I don't need to go experience it in a theater. But also
because you've seen the stories of the people who love it really, really love it. They are diehards. And I've seen the video of the women going in with like the green makeup, and then it streaks when they start crying and all that, and everybody's singing along. I mean, I have no problem seeing it. I'm sure it's good, obviously, but I don't. That's not the crowd for me. I don't think.
Right.
Just I feel like I'm going to be out of place. Okay.
Watch it at home, and you won't have someone singing the entire soundtrack.
I mean, it might be my wife. I don't know.
Right.
So
how's this? What's charting? What's charting from?
Well, it all came out. It's just come out this past week, so it's all still new. But last I saw, Defying Gravity was number 20 on it was either Apple Music or Spotify. And bear in mind that's with all the Kendrick songs above it. So
right.
Probably be top 10
there's a Kendrick asterisk.
And you've got Christmas hitting now,
right?
Which is definitely going to ramp up after Thanksgiving. It's doing really well. And again, if it has legs at the box office and the streaming numbers hold up, and if radio picks it up at all, which maybe they will.
Because it's Ariana,
not,
I feel like...
But it's Ariana Grande.
Right.
So,
which is why I think it will pick up if... Well, I guess it depends. It may depend on how the box office goes next week.
Well, that's the thing with musicals. Are you a big musical fan in general?
I do enjoy a well-done musical, yes. But I feel like it's hard to do a really good musical.
I think to me it depends on the music. Like these very like adult contemporary sort of soaring ballads like Wicked has, for the most part, is not my jam. Do you know what the highest grossing musical of all time is? There's two ways to look at this, and I'll give you both answers.
I would have two guesses.
Okay.
And one of them has to be right. I would guess... Ooh, wait a second.
Okay, well, I'll tell you.
What's the metric when you say the best of all time?
So going by box office numbers for the films. This is not the albums, although both of them had huge albums. One is just the raw number; it's made more than anything else. The other one is if you adjust for inflation.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is miles ahead of everybody else. Just it came out a long time ago.
So my two guesses were going to be Grease and The Sound of Music.
One of those is correct.
Uh-huh.
The all-time, just for raw numbers, is the live-action Lion King. And if you look at the list of highest-grossing musicals, like 15 or something of the top 20 are all Disney movies, and most of them in the last 10 years, which makes sense, like Frozen and all that kind of stuff. Disney's sort of its own thing to me. I don't really think of those as musicals in the same sense.
Yeah.
And also this list I saw had things like Bohemian Rhapsody and Saturday Night Fever on it. Those are not musicals.
That doesn't count as a musical.
Those are just movies with music in them.
Right.
That's not the same
thing. Not a musical, no.
But if you adjust for inflation...
And you know what? I know the Disney, it's just what Disney does.
Yeah.
And I guess technically they are musicals, but I never think of it. I just think of them as Disney movies. And Disney movies always have songs in them, but I guess they are musicals.
And a lot of them are cartoons, which to me is not the same thing as just when the actors just break into song.
Right.
But yeah, if you adjust for inflation, the highest grossing, well over $2 billion it would be at. And the soundtrack album, by the way, only spent 2 weeks at number 1, but it spent 109 weeks in the top 10. Over 2 years just in the top 10. This is The Sound of Music.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
I wish I could see Charles thinking along.
I would, if and it's going to happen this holiday over the weekend. If I turn on the TV and I see it, I'm not getting up. I will sit and watch The Sound of Music.
Really?
Yes.
The whole thing. Just
love the movie. Love it. Love it. Love it.
There's musicals I like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
It's just a good. Again,
it's a good story.
The music is good and great at times, but it's just a good story.
Right.
Which is, like I said, it's hard to make a really good musical because people get caught up in the music and the songs and not so much telling a good story.
Right.
So.
And sometimes you can have both. And it depends on the music. Like I said, I think when I think musical, I think a lot of people think those kind of over-the-top Broadway soaring kind of things. It can be all kinds of things, like one of my favorite ones and one that everybody still goes and sees in theaters all the time, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
didn't do that kind of music. It was like 70s glam rock.
Yeah.
But I love this. Like, this is the time warp. It's great.
It worked. It worked for the story. So you can do that.
Which I think is why Grease worked so well. Because those were modern pop songs at the time. And some of them went to #1 even. They were just good songs.
So Grease, I don't get any, do I get partial credit for Grease? Is it anywhere?
Like, I mean, it's up there. It's on the list.
All right.
It's just all those Disney movies. Because it's the kids.
Yeah.
Parents take the kids and the kids want to see them over and over. And damn kids! Kids love Grease too. I mean, little older kids.
Yeah.
Like teenagers love Grease. Both of my nieces did Grease at their high school.
Everyone does.
Musical shows every year. Like they love it. They also did Footloose, which was not a musical.
Not a musical.
It had a great soundtrack, but
more like Saturday Night Fever and right.
But they've now worked it into a musical. And again, both of my nieces did Footloose. So I came home one time and my nieces who were born in the 2000s, one of them was singing "Let's Hear It for the Boy" by Denise Williams. I'm like,
and they're like,
how do you know this?
And they're like, oh, I just learned this really old song.
Oh, it's true. Yeah. That song's like 30 years before she was born. She's like, that? It's an oldie. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Eric. Yes, it is.
And one more big breaking news thing I want to do quickly. The chart just came out this week, today actually, and Shaboozey's A Bar Song, we've mentioned it many times on here, because it is #1 for the 19th week.
So it's now tied?
It has tied Lil Nas X's Old Town Road as the longest running #1 hit of all time.
Can y'all do it? Can you keep it #1 for one more week?
Well, it won't be next week. Kendrick will be #1 next week.
Oh, that's right.
And then you've got Christmas hitting. Then you got Mariah and Brenda Lee coming.
Wow,
Shaboozey. But after New Year's, you got the year-end countdowns. That means Shaboozey's going to get a lot of airplay.
Mm-hmm.
He could go back for a 20th week in January.
No way.
There's no way. It absolutely
could happen. Goes back. There's no way it goes back. So you think that he could take a month off from being #1 and then he's going to go back to #1? Has that happened before?
Oh, yeah. Because then all the Christmas songs recede. Kendrick's album bomb will be gone. I mean, depending on what happens with that. And if nothing else big comes out, and probably won't, all the old stuff just rushes back in and fills the void. It happens all the time.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm bringing up Shaboozey, and congratulations to him on that. Also, I've said this before, I love that now officially the 2 longest running #1 hits of all time are country or country adjacent songs by black men.
By black people. Yep.
Is that going to be a whole new thing now?
Well, it seems to be working. If you can have a #1 song for 19 weeks, yeah.
Because you could say
black
Lil
people
Nas
are
X
lining up like, give me a hat, give me a Stetson, whatever you need.
Because Lil Nas X was maybe a little bit of a fluke because he wasn't a country artist. Right. He never said he was a country artist. He's like, this is a country song. It samples 9 Inch Nails. Right. Whatever. It was its own thing. Shaboozey is a country artist.
Right.
He makes country music. Mm-hmm. So I think we might see that. But we gotta work out some things with the CMAs first with black country artists.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So I want to mention this real quick because I think it's kind of funny, but also not that funny. At the CMA Awards last week, Shaboozey didn't win anything, and a lot of people through the night kept making jokes about his name. Like Peyton Manning kept saying, "Holy Shaboozey." And your last name is Latibeaudiere. You know this pain.
I can't roll my eyes hard enough. And
Shaboozey is his real last name.
Right. It comes off like when people are already looking at the CMA saying, looking at him a little askance because Beyonce didn't get nominated.
Shaboozey
when you're making fun of Shaboozey's name, it makes it feel like you're othering him, right? Like you're just going like, oh, this guy's got a great song, but we're just going to make fun of his name,
right?
And not actually give him any.
And it might be a little jealousy about how successful he's been, because if we're just talking weird names, if you look at the country charts right now, I mean, there's Jelly Roll, there's a guy named Koe Wetzel, spelled Koe. There's another guy, Tucker Wetmore. You can make fun of some names if you want to. They didn't make fun of those guys,
right?
So, but the big one that really got people kind of riled up, and I see his point. So this guy, Cody Johnson, he won Album of the Year for an album called Leather. He's a good singer. He's been around for a long time. He started as an independent artist. He worked up his way by himself and built an audience, and now he's having a moment. If you don't know who he is, if you don't listen to country, this song was #1 in the country charts this year. This is his song, The Painter.
My life was black and white, but she's the painter.
So good for him, winning Album of the Year.
That.
Yeah, I like him. He's got a song with Carrie Underwood out right now. But the thing is, when he won Album of the Year, his producer, a guy named Trent Willman, was speaking, because the producer wins Album of the Year. That's how it always goes. And what Trent said was, In reference to Cody Johnson, who was standing behind him, he says, "This is for this cowboy who's been kicking Shaboozey for a lot of years." And people thought, what? Why is he now kicking Shaboozey? And people thought this is racist. This is like assault on a black man. This is mocking a name.
No, I get what he.
Well, he's clarified.
Bad joke.
He's clarified it is a bad joke. Well, first of all, right after that, Shaboozey posted a picture of himself like smiling on a jet and just said, "Ain't nobody kicking me." Which, good for him. Trent Williams finally now responded to this and tried to clear up what he meant. And yeah, I know what he was going for. It just didn't work. He says, "What I meant to express in my overly shocked and excited state was that I am very proud of Cody Johnson. He has worked his booty off, in all caps, the last 15 years, putting out and performing great music. He's not an overnight success." And then he says, shout out to Shaboozey for your response to my fumble and your sense of humor. Congrats on that 17-week #1 song, which now it's 19.
Yeah.
So I get it. He was trying to make a joke between Shaboozey and booty and kicking booty.
Right.
If his name was Shaboozey, it would even kind of make more sense.
It would kind of make sense.
But it doesn't.
He forced it in. He put,
I don't think he meant...
No, I don't think he meant it.
To do anything. I don't think he was trying to be racist or being like, I'm going to show that black guy and put him in his
Absolutely
place.
wasn't trying to be racist.
I don't think that.
Trying to make a joke about the guys, again, because the name is so different, so everyone just had to...
But as you said earlier, that alludes to the deeper thing, whether it's intentional or not. And I definitely don't think it was. I don't think Trent Willman was trying to make a racist statement. He just made a bad joke. The othering of names, I don't understand this name. I'm going to make a joke out of it.
Right.
And the reason I looked up Shaboozey, so his name is Collins Obinna Shaboozey, Chibueze. His parents were Nigerian immigrants. He was born in Virginia. And he played football, and he's like, when I was on the team, the coach could never say my name. And he's like, it just became easier to spell it this way.
Right.
So people would just get it.
Yeah. How often I hear lots of booty? I hear lots of booty.
Lot of booty,
all the
yay!
time. And everyone who says it thinks they're so clever and so cool. Hey, you got lots of booty. I mean, I do have lots of booty, but that's a whole other... That's a different thing altogether.
Oh, I love when Charles the player comes out.
No.
That's my favorite.
No, I didn't mean that I get booty. I mean, I have
you don't,
large... Anyway.
Oh, you don't get booty? That's sad.
Yeah, I know. Hold on, Eric.
I tricked you into being a double player.
We need to end this episode.
I mean, y'all can't
please.
see it, but behind this desk, Charles got that ass.
We
what
definitely
happened?
need to end this episode right now.
Is it Thanksgiving
I don't
yet?
know how we went from... Oh, man. Well, this is going to be...
Have a good holiday.
Yeah, it's going to be great when I sit down at the table like, hey, I was listening to your podcast the other day. Oh, yeah. It's going to be fun.
Well,
listen, everyone have a great holiday.
Right.
Happy Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be grateful for. Booties, apparently.
As Salt and Pepper once said, want to thank your mother for a butt like that.
Yeah, and a lot of great music. We can all be grateful for that.
Check out Kendrick and Wicked and everything that's out.
Indeed. And we will see you next time on Get to the Hook.